Tonight on LTC News, keeping the memory of 9/11 alive.
And at the time, we knew it would be a pretty big undertaking. These monuments cost a lot of money. It was going to take a lot of fundraising. And we knew it would take a whole committee to get together to accomplish this.
The Hamilton Canal parking garage ribbon cutting.
We broke ground in August 2019. It'll function just like any other public parking garage here in the city. So you'll have folks with passes, any transient folks looking to come into the city will be able to park right in here. And there'll actually be a LPR, license plate reading technology in there. So it's something that's brand new for a garage here in the city.
And a supernatural story set in Lowell.
I had this thought in my head of this magic system that was based on the relationships between workers, machinery, and their bosses.
Welcome to LTC News. I'm your host, Matt Nelson. The City of Lowell announced the launch of a free, daily, residents-only COVID-19 testing site in partnership with Cataldo Ambulance. It's located behind Showcase Cinemas and is expected to stay open until the end of the month. The first doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine reached Lowell General Hospital on December 15th. The first doses will be distributed to the hospital staff. The Lowell Citizens Advisory Committee held its first meeting on December 10th. The committee gives the public some oversight over the police department. It's an initiative that started in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement across the nation over the summer. The meeting began with committee members introducing themselves.
So I'm Pastor Cecilio. I pastor a church here in the city. Been a resident of Lowell for a very long time.
My name's Michelle. I've lived in Middlesex my whole life, and I'm a citizen in Lowell, and I'm also a graduate student at UMass Lowell currently.
My name is Frederique Young. I have been a lifelong resident of Lowell all 21 years of my life. I'm currently a senior at UMass Lowell studying criminal justice, and I'm applying for my master's right now to specialize in criminal justice policy.
Hi, my name is Zara East German, and I'm a Middlesex Community College alumni. I am a junior at Salem State University, and I'm studying criminal justice.
I am Michelle Rivera, lifelong resident of Lowell. I am very much engaged in a lot of the philanthropy and just civic engagement within the community. So I decided to sign up so that I can continue to serve as far as safety is concerned.
I'm Nader Fernandez. I'm a sophomore at UMass Lowell studying political science. Like everyone else here, I'm a Lowell resident, lifelong, born in Lowell General, product of the Lowell Public Schools. I have family on the force, and my family has been involved in a lot of like nonprofit work in the city as well.
My name is Chance. So I'm the MPA graduate and a prospective PhD in public policy cohort at UMass Boston. I was a former policy and data analyst for the Lowell Housing Authority and a former board director at LTC. And currently I'm working as a researcher in the Department of Public Policy and Public Affairs at UMass Boston. So I hope to be able to use what I've learned from my school and my workplace to help the police department in our city of Lowell. Thank you.
The committee then spoke about its objectives.
I think one of the major keys of this committee is the communication, bringing the communication up to the police department and to the chief's office, and also bringing it back out to the community. We've realized over the course of this past year and doing interviews and talking to various people in the city and organizations that there's a lot about the police department that we now realize that citizens of Lowell aren't aware of. You know, some of our programs, some of our bigger programs, you know, with our aims to assist the community or people that aren't aware of. So that's really important, but also really bringing the voices back to the department from the community. And that's what we are really looking for all of you to do as well, of, you know, questions, concerns, ideas, and we're really looking forward to that.
Look for future CAC meetings broadcast on Channel 99. A new historical fantasy novella titled The Factory Witches of Lowell was published in November. The novella is about a group of supernatural young women working in the mills during the Industrial Revolution who form a union and go on strike. LTC spoke with author C.S. Malarick about her inspiration to write a story set in Lowell and what her research process entails.
Were you interested in just telling a story about a labor action or worker solidarity, and Lowell presented itself as an outlet for that, considering its history? Or were you specifically looking to do something that married supernatural fiction with mill towns in New England?
I had this thought in my head of this magic system that was based on the relationships between workers, machinery, and their bosses. And I was actually trying to write a modern day urban fantasy that was working with those themes. And I wanted labor organizers in the book. It became very clear to me that the history of Lowell and the life of the mill girls was very well documented. Lowell was actually a place that I could get to, that there was a historic park and I could walk into one of the factories, I could walk into one of the boarding houses and see it for myself. So that made it all really attractive as a place where I could set a story.
Do you feel like this book is in conversation with any of the labor organizing that is going on now, or organizing for, social justice that is going on anywhere now? I'm thinking of, the strike portrayed in this book is led by women, as are so many of the most spectacular examples of labor actions over the past couple of decades.
Absolutely. Like, I don't really think there's much difference between what these characters are dealing with and what so many working class people are dealing with right now. Especially in the middle of a pandemic, when so many people are being told you have to be in this place that is bad for your health. And these girls are working in closed factories, breathing in cotton dust every day. And I think I've been so inspired by, Amazon workers running out of their warehouse saying, no, we're not going to go to work in there right now. We know somebody has a case of COVID. It's not safe. And I think we need more of that.
A new 9/11 monument was installed at Liberty Tree Park in October. Bill DeRochers and Stanley Trzynski spoke to us about the purpose and process of establishing the memorial.
In 2001, both Stan and I were active on the fire department, and back then we felt that Lowell should have had a monument to remember the events of September 11, 2001. And we started then, but it didn't really take off too much. And I think it always bothered me personally and all of our firefighters. And we finally said, all right, let's get something done. At a meeting, we had a group of us, and ultimately we formed a committee of about 10 guys. And we sat down, had a couple of meetings, and said, all right, let's start doing some fundraising, and we're working in to find a proper location for it. And at the time, we knew it would be a pretty big undertaking. These monuments cost a lot of money. It was going to take a lot of fundraising, and we knew it would take a whole committee to get together to accomplish this.
Billy was very instrumental in getting this whole thing started, and he's going to give credit to a lot of us, but he did most of the work, most of the hard work. He called the meeting. He had city councilors come and sit with us and discuss. Yeah. And one of the hard parts of the whole thing was finding a place for the monument.
We worked with the City of Lowell's Monument Committee. And so we worked with them for a couple of years trying to find a good location for it, a location that the people in the city could see the monument, they could reflect what happened and remember the events of that day. And I have to give credit to the Lowell Monument Committee. They're the ones that actually found this location for us. So once they presented it to us, we just jumped right on board. We thought it's a perfect location for everyone in the city to enjoy it.
It was hard finding a spot for the stone.
Yeah.
We've had, 3 or 4, and we'd go to a meeting and we'd sit there and say, oh, that's great, that'd be awesome. And then that would fall through. Then This one just came up, Bill, how long ago?
Yeah,
It-
last I think November, December, or
Yeah.
even later, January, that
Yeah.
the
this
Lowell
spot
Monument
came up.
Committee.
They come up with this and
Then it worked out great because it is city property, so the Parks Department helped us out immensely with redoing the park, because the trees were overgrown, and people didn't really realize the park was here. I think it was kind of overgrown, so with the help of the Parks Department, they cleaned it all up. They helped us dig the foundation hole and to get the foundation in place and cleaned up the fence, repainted the fence, and things like that. So the city deserved a lot of credit also for helping us. We want to have a formal dedication, but because of the crowd control and the social distancing aspect that's in place in the world today, we had to put off the dedication. So we're hoping to do the dedication late spring next year. Hopefully all the restrictions
will be lifted.
will be gone, and we can have a proper dedication here.
The Hamilton Canal Innovation District has reached a milestone with the completion of the new municipal garage that will be open to the public very soon. The ribbon cutting on December 16th was a momentous event for the city. The garage's 900 parking spaces will greatly expand parking availability in the downtown and for the newly constructed Justice Center. Joe Jinowitz, the city's urban renewal project manager, gave LTC News a tour.
So we broke ground in August 2019. It'll function just like any other public parking garage here in the city. So you'll have folks with passes, any transient folks looking to come into the city will be able to park right in here. And there'll actually be a LPR, license plate reading technology in there. So it's something that's brand new for a garage here in the city, as well as a 1,200 square foot retail space that the city will put out an RFP for sometime in the near future. These are some perforated metal panels to kind of give a little bit of a differentiation of the garage, break up some of the gray that goes on with the building. So it was really a balance between trying to make the building look like a garage, so anybody who isn't from Lowell would know, hey, there's a place to park, as well as dress it up a bit. So right here we're in the north side of the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. So we had our infrastructure get put in. Right now it's titled Streets F&G. They haven't gotten their official names yet, as well as the signature bridge that's over in that direction over there. So they hit substantial completion also in the fall time frame, and they'll be doing some little things on the bridge that they need to wrap up, but that'll wrap up early spring next year in 2021. So that is a project by Wind Development. So that is on parcels 8 and 9. That is going to be 125 units of housing here in the city, as well as 5,000 square feet of commercial space. It will be a mix, so it's like an 80-20 mix between market rate 80% and affordable 20%. And that is a project that is on schedule. So they're slated to open in the spring of 2022. The city is working with the National Park Service to do a land exchange. So in exchange for the parking lot that they have over there, as well as the bus parking lot over there, the city will get ownership of those lots in exchange for spaces in the garage.
At every phase of the district's planning, it has been clear that the construction of a large-scale parking facility would be essential in unlocking the district's potential and in attracting the kind of private development that we believe this district is ideally positioned to support. With this in mind, the completion of this 900-space, $38 million parking facility is a major step forward in realizing the incredible development opportunity available in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District.
This team was hired to deliver a project and meet the City of Lowell's goals, and these goals were build the project on budget, and we did go back and ask whether we could get a little more money. Build the project on budget was what I heard, loud and clear. Provide 900 spaces and build it as quickly as possible, because there's a building over there that was committed to getting some spaces in here. Well, I'm happy to report that we are under budget. We've provided 903 parking spaces, and despite the impact of COVID-19, we are only slightly beyond our original schedule. 2, 3.
In this week's edition of Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Chris Scott sits down with John Chumley and Sean Hunter of Trinity EMS.
evening, everyone. I'm Chris Scott, the Enterprise Editor at The Sun. I want to thank you for tuning into this latest edition of Sunspot. Shame on me. This is the first time that I've had John Chemily, the founder and chairman of Trinity EMS. I'm about 130 guests into this cable show, and Jesus, John, I don't know how you've eluded me. You must have been ducking me.
Yeah, I didn't take any of your calls.
I want to thank you for coming on today. We've got a lot to talk about. We only have 15 or so minutes, but we'll keep it quick. We'll keep it informative. And with us, you brought Sean Hunter. You brought Sean Hunter, the manager of education and clinical services at Trinity EMS. I think that was a good idea, John. Why don't we just open by just a couple generalities? Here we are at the end of December, and this pandemic started back in March, I believe, is when Baker declared a state of emergency. Can you believe we're still here, John? And it's other than the vaccine that's on the horizon, man, we're in a bad place right now.
Not only is it bad right now, but Chris, it's getting worse. So, hospitalizations are up. If you've talked to Jody White or Amy Hoey at all at Lowell General, you can see that their inpatients are skyrocketing. I'm not quite sure where they are in their ICU, but we're doing close to 750 COVID tests today at Colley Stadium. And there are lines of people there. Fortunately, Sean and John and Chris Dick have made it efficient enough so that people are waiting in line in their cars no less than 10 or 15 minutes. So, right. But there is a line there. People are just very worried about what's going on right now.
What do you expect the positivity rate to be there? And what have you found so far?
So looking at our last testing day, we saw roughly about 14% of the 400 we tested were positive. What we were finding is there are a large number of people who are coming for a repeat test. So that is kind of affecting the numbers. So I'm expecting around the same percentage today, assuming that there isn't any major changes. With the holidays, we're expecting a lot of travel, a lot of interaction between families and people who don't really interact. So we're expecting to see a pretty high rate of infection.
Now, of the 14% that you expect will test positive today, right? What's the turnaround time between the time they get the test and they know the result?
With us and the partnerships we have with our lab, we're expecting 24 to 36 hours. The longest we're seeing people wait is about 48.
Now, are you finding that people are coming in to be tested who are just worried, or are they asymptomatic, or are they really sick?
I would say it's predominantly asymptomatic people, people who might have some mild symptoms, who have reached out to their healthcare provider, and with how difficult access to testing is right now, we've been very fortunate to be able to offer this service to them.
Yeah, see, that's a great point. I'm glad Sean mentioned that, Chris. I'm getting calls left and right on my phone from people that I know and friends and or business acquaintances that are trying to get tests other places in the city, and they're talking 4 or 5 days before they can even get a test. Okay, that's step one. Step two, when you talk about asymptomatic, many of the calls I'm getting, the people have symptoms, and they're saying, my daughter came home and she was at my house at Thanksgiving, and I'm feeling kind of feverish right now. I'm okay, but I'm really worried. I need a test. So for me personally, most of the calls that I'm getting are people that are symptomatic and they want to be tested.
John, I figure that you have something to do with your position with the Ambulance Association, with the Cataldo, the city's other testing efforts that it's doing with Cataldo. So because Cataldo doesn't do business around here, right?
No, but I think what happened was, and maybe Sean could speak to this more than I can, because he'll tell me, or you, I think what happened was the city wanted us to do as many tests as we could. Cataldo's here 7 days a week for the next 7 days?
Something like that, yeah. Through the end of the year.
Until the end of the year, maybe. Honestly, I know the city wants to get people tested. I respect that. I just don't have the capacity, staff-wise, to do that.
Baker was in the newspaper today saying that vaccines could be available to the general public by April. And Fauci saying that, Fauci was on WBUR today saying that he's optimistic that maybe by next spring, they'll be widely available for people across the country. So, when you hear information like that, what do you think?
I agree with both of them. I would think by April we're out of the woods. Okay.
Okay, when you say out of the woods, what do you mean?
I mean that most people will be able to get this vaccine. What I'm understanding, there'll be 50 million doses of vaccine in the country by March or April.
Yep.
So that's a lot of people. We're getting on. Unfortunately, we're only getting 300,000 of the doses here in Massachusetts.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I mean, fortunately, the first responders, I think, are the first ones to get it.
Yep.
And when I say first responders, and I mean frontline people, I mean hospitals, nurses,
Right.
EMTs, firefighters, police, et cetera, et cetera. Fortunately, and we had an ambulance association board meeting this week, yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we may be getting the vaccine here at Trinity next week.
I want to thank both of you men for coming on to this latest edition of Sunspot, which is the newspaper's contribution to the Lowell Telecommunication Corp's weekly news show called LTC News. That was informative, and please keep us posted at LTC and at the newspaper with testing efforts, and if testing becomes more widely available. I mean, testing is the key, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stay safe, you guys.
Okay. Thank you both for coming on, and thank you to the viewers. We'll be back in a couple more weeks with another guest. Thank you and have a good night.
And that does it for this edition of LTC News. You can find us on LTC channels 8, 95, and 99, online at ltc.org, on Roku in the LTC News playlist, on Facebook at LTC Lowell, or on our YouTube page. I'm your host, Matt Nelson. Thanks for joining us.